Hello there, welcome to A Date with Kiki. My name is Kiki and I'm your host. A Date with Kiki is a show that opens everyone up to the inner world of men. On our dates, we bring to light some deep struggles in the world of men that no one talks about, as well as their solutions. Today, I've got with me Ademola David Iyaniwura. He is a trained physiotherapist with over 15 years experience. He is also a data scientist who tutors and mentors young people. Demola is currently pursuing his postgraduate studies in the area of data science. I wish I can do that. Anyway, David is married to IfeOluwa Iyaniwura and they're blessed with 3 children. He is also an author. That's a mouthful there. David is full.
Thank you, Juan.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
thank you so
Kiki,
much for coming to A Date with Kiki. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure you're wondering why David today. David is married to a woman, IfeOluwa, who runs a program for sexually assaulted women, having experienced it herself growing up in Nigeria. And today we're here to ask David some questions around how this affects their marriage and how he is handling it.
Okay.
So, David, I want to know how long you've been married to IfeOluwa and how you met her, please.
We've been married for over 10 years now. We celebrated our 10th anniversary in May. And we met in a town called Ibadan in Nigeria. And I was working in Ibadan and we were neighbors. And we got to know each other through mutual acquaintance. And that's how the relationship developed and became what it is today.
Congratulations on your 10th anniversary.
Thank you very
much. IfeOluwa is a big one when it comes to sexual assaults. How has the journey been with you on her side?
Okay. Obviously, because I'm a Christian, I want to be a little bit say that when I first met her, I discovered that there were some things that were not quite right with her, and knowing her background, some of the things that I knew that weren't quite right didn't quite add up. So I began to try to find out from her if there was anything wrong, because sometimes the signs are always there for you to see as a man, and especially when you're close to somebody. So, and she confided in me about it, and that was how the journey began. And for me, it became like a personal journey of trying to help somebody get over whatever past they have. And as you may also know, she was very young when we got married. She was just 22 when we got married, and which was a very early stage in our life. And one of the things I always say is that it was a very good time that we met, because it meant that all the complications that could have resulted from the sexual abuse and the story would have been more complicated, but because of the marriage and the relationship we had, she was able to get over some of those things.
Okay, now did you know about the stories? Did you know about IfeOluwa's story before you got married to her or after you got married?
Yeah, definitely before we got married.
Okay, so she told you.
She told me about it. Yeah.
And well, from what you said, I want to assume, or I want to believe that it wasn't that she just came up first to you to tell you. You asked, you saw the signs, and then you asked. So before you got married, so how did that affect your decision to get married to her?
The truth is that I've had the convictions of getting married to her before the signs came, and because there were troubled, we had a very troubled courtship and relationship, and the revelations somehow helped me to manage those troubles better, because had I not known, I would have continued to blame her for a lot of things, a lot of actions and reactions that she put up in the relationship. But knowing actually helped the relationship in that, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, now this I'm very curious about, because you knew and you were able to handle it for yourself. Were you able to discuss our experience with anyone?
It wasn't quite easy for me to discuss it with anyone, so
particularly your family.
No, I decided not to tell anybody about it.
Okay.
But the only person I can say that I had mentioned it to was somebody who was counseling us.
Okay.
And because of the counseling, and I had to bring up the genesis of some of the troubles that we were going through before. So, but I didn't even go into full details of everything, but just to give the person a heads up on how to go about the counseling, basically.
Okay, so that person will know the foundation of whatever was happening. Okay, now that's becoming interesting. So you knew about it before you got married. You dealt with it. It was a good thing you actually opted to go for counseling. Very few African men will go for counseling. Now, having done that, you got married to IfeOluwa, and at what point did she come to you to tell you about the NGO? Because that means going out to the world to say, this is what I've experienced.
Well, it was much later in our marriage. I think it was around the time we had our second child. She just around that time she was on maternity leave from work, and she was studying nursing at that time. She was also on maternity leave from studying. So I think that was the period where, having a 9 months period where you weren't really doing anything, which was not very unlike her. She's a very active and very energetic person. So I think that was the time she began to ask herself, what could she do? Take the opportunity of that period to do. So that was how she started it, and she discussed it with me. And I was asking her, are you sure it's time to do this? Because I know at some point in your life you will have to do this. But she was convinced that it was time, even though I wasn't actually really convinced. But as things went on, we agreed that I'll respect her decision, and that's it.
Yeah, well done. That's yeah. So it was time. She came to tell you, and you agreed. But did you realize at that time that this means IfeOluwa will be going out public with her experience, considering the stigma that a lot of us attach to being a survivor?
Yes, I do, and I think I pointed that to her and asked particularly, are you ready to actually tell the whole world this story? Is this something that you're comfortable doing? And do you know whatever implication could come out of it? And because she was convinced, I had no choice but to be convinced, because she was the victim. So I wasn't the victim, I was just a supporter.
Now,
so
David, you're not answering my question. Fine, that was for Ife, but for yourself.
Yeah, that's what
it's going to open up that, oh, David is married to Ife, who has been, because actually Ife's got a book that is called Hidden in His Strength, and that in the book she has detailed, she detailed out her experience. So my question now is, what I'm wondering is, this means the world we know, I'm married to a woman who's been sexually assaulted. What did that mean to you?
Obviously, it didn't mean as much as I might say it means now, because obviously when you start that kind of thing, obviously you want to say your story, but you probably fine-tune your story and say it in such a way you want the world to hear. But obviously coming to, because when you say the story and you start going on shows and going on interviews, people are going to ask you questions, which is going to dig deeper than you were willing to reveal it initially. So, and I think that was what happened in her case. I think as she got into it, she realized that she had to dig in deeper and deeper. So obviously at that time, it wasn't quite clear that this was deep. This was everything that you had to do. So that's what happened in that case. So we didn't actually. We just felt we would tell our story the way we wanted people to hear it, but not knowing that obviously
that open up a lot more. And over the years, it's been interesting how those pages have been opening, have been unfolding. We'll take a break now, and we'll be back shortly. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned, and welcome back. I'm still here with David Iyaniwura. So, my next question to you, David, is, having said all of that, you knew before you got married to IfeOluwa and you dealt with it. How do men generally, particularly married men, how do they handle this issue of sexual abuse? And what do you think can be done differently to support women from the perspective of men now?
Obviously, first of all, the onus lies on the woman who has been abused to tell her prospective husband about the abuse, because once you tell the prospective husband, because a lot of women don't do that because they feel that that might scare them away and things like that. But
which happens.
it does happen.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go into a marriage, know fully well that this thing is going to affect your marriage. And if you tell somebody ahead of time, leave them to make the decision to whether they want to go ahead with it or not, and they want to deal with all the consequences or not.
Okay.
Which is what I feel helped in my own case. Yeah, because one of the things that I noticed, because people who have been abused, they create a sort of false reality for themselves in order to deal with it. So when they create that false, just to make them feel much better about what happened to them, they create that thing. So along the line, if you just find that as a man, you're married, and for some reason your woman is not able to tell you everything that happens to her, she keeps some things from you, then it becomes a problem in your marriage, because you probably may be suspicious that she's cheating or something. But the reason why she's doing it is because of what has happened before your marriage. So as a woman, you tell your husband, and as a man, once you make up your mind to marry that woman, never ever use that thing against her, because it wasn't her fault that happened. A man like yourself did something like that to her, and you don't have to now start using it against her. And one of the reasons why people get married is love. Love that woman, support her, give her all the support she needs. In fact, you are the greatest pillar, even greater than her parents, that she needs to overcome that problem. That's the what men should do. Men should know about it ahead of time, and they should choose to do it willfully. And once they do that, they shouldn't use it against the woman, and to give her all the support she needs.
You said something. You said the woman should tell the man before they go into marriage, or as soon as you get into a relationship, and then
well, maybe not as soon as it.
When they get into the relationship, and this relationship is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, now, so when the woman tells the man, the reality is there is the risk of the man leaving, right? So why do men leave after they've known such things?
Well, if they leave, what I would say in my own philosophy is that it was never meant to be. That's the way I say it. Yes, it was never meant to be. Because the person who it was meant to be with will stay with you. You understand? Love conquers all things. Basically, if the person really loves you, whatever happened to you, you were a victim.
But at that time, I'm speaking from the angle of a woman now. I won't take it that it was never meant to be. Fine, it was never meant to be, and the person who will support you would come. But
obviously, that's the way you feel, because in every relationship, even for a man too, sometimes you've been in a relationship that never worked out, and it doesn't always come out well. Maybe you're emotionally broken and things like that. But that is the experience of life. But it is better to have a broken relationship than to have a broken marriage. So basically, you have to bear that at the back of your mind, that whatever you're hiding, even though it may save your relationship at this time, but it may end up breaking your marriage. So that's how to. Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Now, talking about coming into marriage now and having children. Now, I want to look at it from the perspective of sons. Do you think, as a man, as a father who has got a son, and then the mother is being sexually assaulted, do you see any rift, any issue between the son and the mom from that angle, as a man looking from, now standing behind and looking at a wife and her son?
Well, it depends on how much the son knows. Because sometimes, like, for instance, I come from a family that I've always thought everything was perfect and things like that. And stories that my parents told me, and my mom told me something when I was already an adult about some things that happened to her. I couldn't imagine that she's been through that, So it depends on how much you tell the child. And a lot of parents shield children from such information. But sometimes the experiences may be good for them. Because in my own circumstances, the reason why my mom would have told me anything was because there was something happening at that time that was sort of similar to whatever she had
happened,
experienced before. So usually at some point in time, those things will come out because those experiences you had, you need to. And in our own case now, she's written a book and it's
So
all in the
definitely,
open.
yeah.
At some point, the son or the daughter will read the book and obviously,
They will
so
know the
you will
story.
know the story.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the role more, the responsibility is more now on the dad to actually educate the son.
Which is the next question I was going to ask you. So,
Yeah.
what's the role of a man or a father in the life of his son in respect to sexual abuse?
Obviously, you need to actually say that as it is to your son. And obviously, there are two things you're trying to prevent. You're trying to prevent them being a perpetrator of sexual abuse, and you're also trying to help them to handle when they meet a partner who is sexually abused. So those are the two things you're doing. And one of the things you want to relate with is your mom's story. Look at your mom's story, and you once a child, a son, hears that story, it's not likely to want to do that to a woman.
Yeah.
You understand? It's not likely. And as a father, your own having taken that responsibility to support the mom and to build a family with her should be a sort of encouragement to the son to be able to handle such situation in the future. So as a father, you play a very important role in making your son understand how you dealt with it and how he should deal with it when he ever encounters it.
Ever happens.
Yes.
Okay, now my next question is: at what age do you think our sons should be let into this kind of experience that mom has had, and who should it come from? Because yes, your wife has written a book now, but your son might not pick up the book. Or at what age would you think is appropriate for my son to know mom's experience and be able to learn from it?
My own opinion is that as a child begins to display knowledge about things relating to relationship, sexual relationship and things like that, when you notice that they've gotten to that age, because sometimes parents are always wary of discussing these issues with their peers and with their children because they don't really know if they are mature enough to listen to those things. But once you begin to hear conversations that they are discussing that relates to that matter, it means that somebody already is teaching them outside.
Exactly.
So the best thing is for you to come in and start
very quickly.
Yeah, exactly, and impart the knowledge in them.
Okay.
You don't want to do it too quick, and you don't want to do it too late.
So it depends on how fast the child is growing. Actually,
exactly.
So I take it that you're saying there is no set age.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on the child's pace, basically.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very personal question to you, Demola. You knew about this and then you got married and your wife decided to go in the open with this. Now, I'm talking from the perspective of the in-laws and your friends. How confident were you able to push this out and say, okay, this is what my wife has gone through, and if questions come up, or when questions came up, how confident were you around that?
Yeah, fortunately, I'll say that nobody in my family has actually called me to discuss the matter with me. Interestingly, nobody has actually called me because they are aware she's running the NGO, and I believe some of them have read some of the things that she's posted and information, and some of them have even read her books. Because I remember a few months ago, my sister and her family came to visit the UK, and I saw my brother-in-law, who is my sister's husband, reading the book, and he read it from. So, and after reading, nobody has ever asked me any question about it, and I believe that maybe the words that she's spoken speaks for itself. That's my opinion, because for them not to have asked me, I think they get the message basically. So that's the way I see it. But if you are in a situation where people don't get the message, I think your conviction about whatever she's doing will actually convince them, basically.
And if the question comes up, of course, if you can't answer, you pop the book over to them and say, go on Amazon and get Healing in His Strength. He's there to answer your question. Okay, now, I'm going to ask you this question again as the perspective of a father. How would you as a father want to prevent your daughter from experiencing what your wife went through?
So obviously, I've listened to my wife's story, and obviously through her, I've heard other people's story, and apart from through her. I've heard other people's story. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that the prevalence of this sexual abuse is as a result of the exposures that even parents have exposed their children to people they trusted and people they felt will were responsible for them. And because of that, I take a personal responsibility for my children. And for me, I don't take my children to any and my wife knows it, because when we have to do something, I have to go to work and she has to go somewhere or something, and she suggests that we take our child to this place. No, I said, no, one of us has to find a way to be absent. If we get a good, we have responsible child minders here and there. So if we can't get those ones who we trust, really, who are probably women and who are not, we know that they can't do such a thing, usually then it's a no-no for me. So as much as possible, it may be an exaggerated reaction, but I think I can only do my best for my child, and my child has to see that I've done the best for her. That's the.
And I always hear well, I can't remember where, but I always hear someone say that, I'd rather be too protective of my child than not be protective at all. So yes, I guess that's where you're coming from. And I like what you said. I have to be sure my child is with a professional, a trusted professional, because these days everything and anything happens. Bless sister.
Thank you.
Okay, now, so my final question. What would you say to the man out there who is married to a woman who is a survivor and is struggling with the relationship or struggling to help her deal with it?
Yeah, what I'll say is love conquers all things. Love, the reason why you're married to your wife, the reason why you're with your wife is because you love her. And that love should not be destroyed by something that happened in the past. The present is what you need to deal with. Whatever is happening presently, if she needs counseling, you can go to counseling with her. If she needs any kind of support whatsoever, just go with her. Because at the end of the day, I always tell people, when you have a marriage, cherish it. Because if you feel that your wife is the worst woman in the world or whatever is wrong with her, the woman out there that you're going to meet, that is going to replace her, you don't know what she's got. You understand? So this one that you have, this one, I see marriage as a privilege. I see my wife agreeing to marry me as a privilege. Just I will believe that she sees me too. And I don't really want to lose that privilege. And whatever I need to do to make that marriage work, I'll do it. And I believe that is what love is all about. You understand? Be strong with her, support her, hold on to her, whatever she needs. If you feel that it's beyond you, go to people who can help. There are always counselors you can speak to, people you can actually talk to, who can help you through whatever situation that you're going through in your marriage. And I believe that at the end of the day, if you do all that, all will be well with your marriage.
Thank you so much, Demola, for coming. You've thrown great wisdom and insight into this topic. Viewers, my last word is, when a woman is being sexually abused, it is not her fault, and she needs every support she can, particularly from her man. I always say, our men are our pillars, and you need to be the pillar for your woman. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I'll see you again on the next episode of A Date with Kiki. Cheers.